alligators in the sewers.
Dragons terrorizing the planet.
Are they just stories? I investigate actual reports of alligators breeding underneath New York City. Could they really come up through your toilet to bite you?
And I find out if dragons were ever alive, flying through the sky, breathing fire, and spreading fear throughout the land.
And Doubting Dave gets up close to dangerous creatures with really sharp teeth.
Thousands of years ago, we had huge fangs too. And today, you will again.
This
is Mystery Hunters. To this wild location in search of alligators, but this is no ordinary jungle. It's the urban jungle known as New York City. Many people believe there are alligators living and even breeding in the sewers here. Could that be true? Imagine if there were hungry beasts in these underground tunnels of New York, waiting in the dark, ready to pounce on and eat the sewer workers. If that is true, then there could be alligators in the sewers underneath your city, too. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Christina.
Thanks for meeting with us.
Oh, sure.
What's this statue all about?
Well, you know, every city needs a mascot, and if there's a mascot for New York, it's probably the alligator in the sewer. Sort of an urban legend. Everybody sort of hears about it growing up. I couldn't tell you when the first time I heard the story was, but I always knew might be alligators in the sewers of New York.
It was once a trend for people vacationing in Florida to return home with baby alligators as pets. They were cute when they were small, but then they grew. They became hard to manage, so their owners would flush them down the toilet. Not the nicest thing to do to your pet. And now, generations of these gators have survived and breed within the depths of the city's sewers. Or so the story goes. Where does the story come from?
There was an article in the New York Times about 3 teenage boys in East Harlem. And they claim they found an alligator in the sewer, they lassoed it, they dragged it up, it was about 7 feet long, and they finally, it got nasty, it started snapping, so they killed it and showed it off to their neighbors.
Do New Yorkers believe there are alligators in the sewer?
Well, I think they'd like to believe. I would.
Kids that I grew up with, they came up back from Florida from trips and had baby alligators, and thing lasts for a while, but then, you know, they discard them and flush them down the toilets. I guess that's how the legend really started. This has been going on for years, the legends of the alligators in the sewers.
Have you heard about alligators living in the sewers of New York?
No.
I've heard about it, but is it urban myth or like, is it real? I've never seen it.
People flush everything down the toilets, but alligators, no.
Maybe.
I don't think so. No.
Do you think it could be true?
Sure. Why not?
In fact, what everyone feared most really happened. One summer, an alligator mysteriously showed up in one of the lakes in Central Park. People were scared. Henry Stern was the park's commissioner in New York at the time.
An alligator came out at night. He had shiny eyes, which were reflective.
Henry hired a husband and wife alligator team from Florida to capture the alligator.
So it was really man and beast, face to face, head on.
They used a light to attract him.
Sure enough, the alligator rose to the bait. She grabbed him around the neck, and she handed him off to her husband, who was in the back of the boat.
He didn't attack them?
No, he was rather small for an alligator. And the first thing we discovered is that it was technically not an alligator, but a caiman, a tropical reptile. that's a cousin to the alligator. I called him Damon.
It's actually a good thing they removed Damon from the pond. He would have died in there. And there he is now, Damon the Cayman, in his new home, Central Park Zoo. Is it possible that Damon the Cayman got into this lake from the sewer system? Could he be part of a large colony of sewer-dwelling reptiles?
Dragons are supposed to be gigantic, fire-breathing reptiles with lion's claws, serpent's tails, scaly skin, and wings. But are dragons only mythical monsters? Or could they ever have existed? Breathing fire and terrifying the population? This 5,000-year-old site, known as the White Horse of Uffington, overlooks a strange flat-top mound known to the locals as Dragon Hill. Is this the place where a dragon was killed? And if so, when the body fell here, could it have scoured a mark into the landscape? According to legend, no grass ever grew again where the dragon's blood soaked into the ground. The story goes that St. George, a young knight, killed a dragon here to save the king's daughter. St. George was finally victorious after a fierce battle, to the delight of the villagers, and of course the princess.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Princess.
To whom he later got married. There's supposed to be hard evidence here in England that St. George really did kill a dragon. One version of the story says that when St. George thrust his sword into the dragon's heart, its blood burned through the grass to the white chalk underneath. Lots of people have tested this soil, but nobody can figure out why the grass has not grown here for hundreds of years. Maybe a dragon really did die here, burning the grass with its acidic blood. So the White Horse continues to guard a mystery. What other evidence is out there? I've been told this is a dragon's tooth. It was dug up here, and there's a whole bunch more just waiting to be discovered. If it really is a dragon's tooth, then I guess this quarry could turn out to be a dragon graveyard.
Did you know that alligators have about 80 teeth compared to your 30? Their jaws can bite down with such force, it'd be like a small truck falling off a cliff and landing right on top of you. Crikey, there he is! Yeah! Isn't he a beauty? But don't be fooled. Just like alligators, dogs have fangs too. And fangs are made to rip into their victims, then tear the meat off their bones in chunks. Thousands of years ago, we had huge fangs too. And today, you will again. Here's how you can make incredibly... G'day?
G'day, mate. Crikey, you gotta stop doing those impressions. You look so bad. Real bad.
Sure, Steve. Here's how you can make incredibly real fangs for your mouth that are actually strong enough to bite with. They're also great for a costume. Boil some water, and make sure to do it with somebody who's old enough. Then pour it into a coffee mug. Next, get some friendly plastic at a hobby store. It's a very flexible kind of plastic. Cut out 2 small pieces, each about the size of a bottle cap. Put 1 piece on a spoon, then lower it into the hot water for about 20 seconds. This will make it nice and soft. Now, bring the piece out, roll it into a ball, and mold it into the shape of a tooth. Then press it onto your canine tooth. That's where our fangs used to be. Shape it so it looks long and nasty. Leave it on your tooth for about 2 minutes, Then use your second piece of plastic to make the other fang, and voila, you've gone back in time. 10,000 years ago, we didn't have fire to cook our food, so we needed fangs to tear the meat off the animals we ate. Nowadays, eating meat is a little bit easier.
Some new heroes have arrived. They might not be very big, but small is powerful! Believe it! Meet the Savums. Hello! The tiny team of do-gooders who just love to help. No adventure is too big or too small. So get ready because the Savums are coming. Adventures with the Savums, weekdays at 9:30 and 11 on Discovery Kids.
I'm investigating reports of alligators in the sewers of New York. That's Damon the Cayman. He was found swimming in a lake in New York Central Park. Could he have gotten in there through the sewer system? And if so, could there still be others living down there? Bruce Foster is one of Damon's keepers. Where did Damon come from?
Damon was captured in the Harlem Mere, which is a lake on the north end of Central Park. Damon was probably somebody's pet, and the student came home from school, and Mom said, either you go, Johnny, or the Cayman goes. And I think Johnny thought the Mere was a nice home for the Cayman. And, by the way, Damon is a girl.
Bruce says there's no way Damon could have gotten to the lake by being flushed down a toilet, because the sewers aren't connected to the lake. But he has heard about reptiles ending up in some strange places.
There's a giant python who's lived in somebody's bathroom and goes down the toilet and ends up in a neighbor's apartment. But Damon was sort of an interesting story about what you should not keep as a pet.
Hello, you've reached the Department of Herpetology at the Bronx Zoo. If this is a snake bite emergency, please call 718.
I got in touch with the Bronx Zoo so I could see some baby alligators for myself. They're just like the ones people flush down the toilet.
It was the story in the Bronx that there were alligators living in our sewer system.
Frank Indiviglio is a herpetologist, someone who works with reptiles here at the zoo.
As a small boy, about 11 years old, I actually found my way down into the sewer system. And I spent half the summer fishing for alligators. I had a little fishing line and used some lunch meat, and it was my idea to see this incredible animal here in New York City. I didn't see any, I didn't catch any, but the story dies hard. It's still going around. And they're wild animals, they're not pets, but we do need to examine them to see how their health is. Would you like to hold them so I can take a look at them?
How do I?
What you want to do is just put your hand out like this and clasp him right behind there.
Like that?
So he can't turn his head, right? Nice firm grip.
They look so cute, but even the little ones can be dangerous. Oh! It bit me.
Okay?
Yeah. Ow. Despite Frank's warning, I got my face a little too close to it.
Keep him, maybe hold his head here a little.
Am I bleeding? One got me. Now, can I get one? The only way to find out is to go down there and have a look for myself. Hello? Any alligators down there?
Wait, Christina.
It's too dangerous to go down into the sewers in any city, but David Gilmartin agreed to send down a special search unit for me. They use a special camera to search through the muck and lower it deep into the sewer.
They will remotely control it and guide it through the sewer.
If there are alligators in city sewers, this is going to be the best way to find out, other than going down there myself. And maybe ending up at some gator's lunch. David tells me they use the cameras to look inside the sewers quite a lot. So far, no gators have turned up on camera.
But we always have a pretty good idea of what's going on.
But couldn't an alligator be hiding in there?
Maybe for a short period of time, but we'd see it. And even if we didn't see it, everything that comes through the sewer eventually winds up here.
If alligators are managing to avoid the cameras, they'd probably find it hard to avoid ending up here.
This is the Deer Island Sewage Treatment Plant in Boston.
It's the end of the line for anything in the sewer system. Security is too tight in New York City for me to go into the sewers. But the system in Boston works the same way, and they've allowed me in. Ed works here at the plant.
Anything that goes down the sink, the toilet, storm drains, everything ends up coming here.
Does it also include what I think it does?
I think so. Everything ends up in there. A lot of nasty things come through there. There's no escape. It has to come through here. All the things that do come through here would get trapped on this rake over here.
What about an alligator? Couldn't an alligator get through this?
No, those little bar screens right there is probably half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, so anything bigger than that is going to get caught right here.
And if the sewage treatment plant didn't get them?
Then the environment would.
Frank, the herpetologist, says that alligators could never survive in the sewers.
It's tropical. Our sewer system gets very cold in the winter, which would kill them. The environment in New York City's sewer system is just really unsuitable for these animals.
So the idea of alligators surviving and breeding in the sewers is not possible.
Still, the next time you go rowing or swimming in a city park, you might want to keep your eyes open. You never know what might be in the water with you.
Could this be a dragon graveyard? Kevin Walsh has already found dragon's teeth, right here. I wonder what other evidence we'll dig up today. I got one! This is called a dragon's tooth. Why is it called a dragon's tooth?
Just look at the shape. It's just the same shape as a tooth, a large tooth.
But is this really the tooth of a dragon? Kevin tells me it's actually the inside of an ancient octopus. So that wasn't really the tooth of a dragon. But Kevin and I decide to keep on digging. It looks like we might have found something. This is definitely not an octopus. Kevin has actually found lots of evidence here. Like this jaw. And these footprints. These look like the remains of dragons. Actually, these are traces of a dinosaur called Megalosaurus. But dinosaurs and dragons seem to have plenty in common, at least on the surface. Scaly skin, long tails, sharp claws, and huge jaws. If dinosaurs once lived on Earth, is it possible that dragons did too? Maybe these bones can help us solve the mystery.
That was something else.
You ever wonder if you could travel through time? So does 12-year-old Leanne Crudo of Hallandale, Florida. Take a look on the Mystery Illustrator. Dear Doubting Dave, I watched the movie Back to the Future, where a crazy professor invents a time machine and puts it in his car. Then his teenage neighbor goes back and forth through time. He sees himself in the past, then the future, then the past again. I know this was just a movie, but is there a way to do this with a real time machine? Well, Leanne, nobody's invented a working time machine yet, but many scientists do believe time travel is possible. Yeah, outstanding. As amazing as this may sound, we do know that some people have already traveled into the future. That's right, Dave. Scientist Albert Einstein figured out that the faster an object goes, the slower time moves around them. Picture two people.
Hey!
Fred stays on Earth, while Leanne takes off in a spaceship. The closer Leanne's spaceship gets to the speed of light, the slower time will pass for her. So, if Fred waits on Earth for 70 years, while Leanne's spaceship is flying around at close to the speed of light, when Leanne gets back, she'll only be 10 years older, not 70 years older like Fred. So who's already traveled through time? Astronauts on the space shuttle. Even though the shuttle doesn't get anywhere near the speed of light, it does go fast enough that the astronauts on board actually travel a few billionths of a second into the future. It isn't much, but it's the best we can do, because so far, the only thing we can make move at the speed of light is light. And that's the only known way to travel through time. Except for this. Yeah. Woo. Wait till he sees his great-great-grandchildren. Yeah.
Dinosaurs and dragons seem to have a lot in common. Scaly skin, long tails, sharp claws, and huge jaws. If dinosaurs once lived on Earth, is it possible that dragons did too? Chinese culture has celebrated the dragon for thousands of years. Dr. Angela Milner dug up these bones and teeth in China. What can they tell us about dragons?
These kinds of teeth and bones have been coming out of the rocks in China for more than 2,000 years. So when they saw these enormous, powerful-looking teeth, people automatically assumed they were dragons.
So what about these?
These are skulls of a small dinosaur from the Gobi Desert. It's called Protoceratops. And again, ancient people would have seen the skulls and skeletons of these gradually emerging from the ground. And because they have big, fierce, hooked beaks and quite sharp teeth, they thought they were rather like eagles. They were given wings as well. So that's another idea of where the whole legend of winged dragons came from finding real fossils in the ground but not understanding what they were.
So the teeth and bones that ancient Chinese thought were dragons really came from dinosaurs. If dragons once lived, wouldn't we be finding their bones too? Dr. Milner has never found any evidence of dragons, at least not the kind we're talking about.
There is a real dragon alive today, but it's actually a huge lizard.
Dr. Milner is talking about the Komodo dragon. It's the world's largest living reptile. It can't fly or breathe fire, but just like the legendary dragon, it's got horrible breath, and it's deadly. When it bites, it injects a poison-like bacteria in its saliva that kills its prey slowly. It's easy to see why they call it a dragon. And dragons are alive in another way, too. Storytellers still pass on ancient legends about them, and I guess they always will.
And lots of people pass on the modern legend about alligators being in the sewers, probably because they believe it's true.
So dragons can breathe fire. Like to see a dragon do this. Thanks for watching.
Remember,
things aren't always what they seem.